Subway Fresh Take Hotline is the head coach of Texas Tech off an endlessly entertaining and at the end, heartbreaking defeat this past weekend. Kliff Kingsbury is with us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. Appreciate y'all having me.
Well, we've been talking a ton about your game this past weekend, and whether you thought it was beautiful football or whatever it was, I couldn't turn off a second of it. Can you just take us through the roller coaster of emotions where your team looks like you're on the verge of getting a stop, even get the stop on the play on the fourth down, and then the ball is tipped in the air and they make the catch at the back of the end zone? Can you just take us through, from a coach's standpoint, the roller coaster of emotions?
Yeah, it was tough. Being the play caller, we had that drive there and went 3 and out, giving them the ball right back. So you're second guessing some things there, and then to watch the defense make a stand and really rise up, get them a fourth down, and then Doxson, who had an incredible game, goes up, gets a hand on it, and they make a great play and win it. So kind of all the emotions in one in the last couple of minutes, but it was a fantastic ball game.
It was something, and I got to say, before we get into it even more, your last play when the pitching was going on, rarely do you see, but give the props to your kid. Is it Clark, the offensive lineman, 62? Getting down the field and pitching the rock. I mean, he's a lean-looking, looks like a pretty good athlete. That was impressive, seeing him take the pitch and then pitch the ball.
Yeah, every Thursday we have that. We work that, and those O-linemen don't get to touch it very much, so they're always sprinting around trying to get in the end zone to spike it, do the little dances. So he's a very good athlete. He got his hands on it and gave it a good run.
Hey, Clint, you guys have been fighting the national reputation. The SEC commonly, they get it. But your team is in the midst of a 7-game span where you're playing 5 ranked opponents. How do you feel overall, the Big 12? Do they get disrespected with SEC?
I just think the SEC, had won for so long that they'd earned that right to be put as a premier conference. But I do feel like other conferences are making up that ground now. I think the Big 12 has some very, very good teams and some very good offenses that can play with anybody. And when you face these type of offenses, I mean, anything can happen. You got great players in space with great quarterbacks, and it's kind of a great equalizer.
So let me go there, Kliff, for you. And I'm saying this, you have to understand where it's coming from as a former defensive lineman, so a defensive player. And you just said offenses. When Greeny said this was the greatest game, I said it was an unbelievably entertaining game. But as a former defensive player, I don't even on the winning team, I don't want to walk into my meetings the next day. So what do you say when someone like me brings that up, the defensive side of this and how that's worked into this equation?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's your expectation of defenses has to change in this conference. You have to try and create turnovers and have to try and force some field goals, because the way these teams play and the spread offense and the tempo, people are going to get their yards and they're going to score some points. So you really had to focus on taking the ball away and trying to hold people to field goals.
Now, there are people who are going to ask the question, can you win at the very highest level playing that style of football? Can you beat? It's all well and good to have these incredibly entertaining games that fans like me love, but can you win championships playing that style of football?
We'll find out. I think it's creeping closer and closer. Ohio State runs a similar spread. They're not as wide open probably, but their spread. Auburn played in the championship game. They're wide open. Both those teams run it more out of the spread than we do, but I think it's heading that way. I think TCU, Baylor, were close last year to getting in, and once you get in, anything can happen.
And so along those lines, TCU, Baylor, exact order you're playing these teams back-to-back weeks. So you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds who ride emotional roller coasters. You can't ride a bigger emotional roller coaster than this last game against TCU. So how do you get them through that and say, oh, by the way, guys, it's Baylor this week with, scoring 64 points a game. You better forget about that one, which can be easier said than done. What was your strategy as a coach in trying to move on from that?
Really just that it's another great opportunity to show how good you are. You can take it both ways. You can pout or you can get mad about it and try to do something about it. And so we're trying to take that second approach, and we're all mad how the game ended. But, hey, we have a great top 5 opponent this week, and then you get another opportunity to show how good you are.
Couple more things for you quickly. Obviously, a week or so ago, there was a great deal made about the comments back and forth between yourself and the Arkansas coach, Brett Bielema. Now that you've had a little time to let that sort of sit, what is your perspective on it and thoughts on the way the whole thing turned out?
Yeah, I've really moved on from it. I think it was what it was. I said what was on my mind. He said what was on his mind, and just kind of left it at that. They have a great program. They do a great job in the SEC, and it really was what it was.
And I guess the final one is, which would you say is the more accurate statement? You look like Ryan Gosling, or Ryan Gosling looks like you?
Yeah.
I'll take the first one. Yeah.
I like that.
It seems fair enough.
And that really was the most important question out of all of this.
It's the only thing anyone ever comments on.
I appreciate you waiting till the last one to get to that, too.
Kliff, listen, I mean, what can I say? As a fan, I loved watching every second of it. Obviously, it was a heartbreaking way for your game to end, but I'm looking forward to watching it this weekend.
And he's doing a great job at Texas Tech.
Good luck to you, and thanks very much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, fellas. Y'all take care.
Take care.